I've been raising sheep on our little hobby farm homestead for 3 years now, but we just added pigs about a month ago. And I hope it's not too soon to say this, but I'm a big fan of pigs. Here's our 2 red wattles that we got about a month ago. We absolutely love these guys. They are really cool pigs. They're about 12 weeks old right now, and they've come with a whole new set of challenges. Some easier, some more challenging. But the real question is, are they easier than sheep? They still don't really know what to think of me. They know I bring them food, so they come to me sometimes, but other times they run away from me. First thing I want to talk about with these guys is just look at how much they've torn this stuff up. I was shocked to learn that pigs as young as these can just rip up all of this. But I mean, that's what they're supposed to be doing, right? And this area was pretty darn nice beforehand. I mean, that's wonderful earth. Like, that's amazing stuff. So fun fact about this area, my house over there was actually, we bought this house because it was moved out here from in town, and where I'm standing right now is where they like stripped a lot of it. So these pigs find a lot of trash. And while we're on the note of stuff that my pigs have found, these are just 3 random things I found this past week. There's a remote to something that I don't know what the heck this was to. But to be fair, these have been all over my property because the people who owned this place before me thought that was okay to do, and just leave that out in the forest. And then that old chain, so that's fun. Okay, let's talk about the most frustrating thing about the pigs, and that is the electric fence. I'm no stranger to electric fences, okay? I know how they work, I know how to ground stuff, I know how to insulate stuff. Been doing it a lot with sheep for years, okay? So we've got it hooked up here, and we don't have sun right now, and I'm going to show you my solution to what I've been doing with that. But I wanted to call out what's been the biggest problem, and that has been just keeping the fence energized, because for whatever reason, these dang insulators just don't, like, I can hear it discharging electricity on these insulators. This one, for example, was originally in this insulator, and I had to move it up to this one because it kept discharging electricity on it, and it was so frustrating. And as you know, when you're discharging electricity, you're losing electricity, which means the battery goes dead faster, which means at nighttime you basically have no shock. So what I've been doing, so first of all, the solution for me is from now on I'm just going to use these posts. I know that sounds ridiculous to use posts within a fence, but they seem to work better than the actual insulators. But how I've been getting through the low electricity is, so this does run on solar, but let me see if I can set this up. I also have it connected to a battery. So this is something that we use, like if ever we lose power, we put this Ryobi battery pack on it, and click it in, full bars, turn it on, and I just leave this on a rock with a bucket on it, and you can see that plugs in here as well. So doing that, like I've tested it with the voltage tester, it goes from basically the lowest setting to the highest setting on that, and that battery pack lasts me about a day. So that's worked out for us. So one last thing I'll say just on the electric fence, our actual original plan, like when we got these pigs here, I just had this corner subdivided, and I was just going to rotate them kind of like a 4-square court within here. And the way we subdivided it is we just had one of these fence posts that we've used for sheep, but basically we gave 2 strands, one on the bottom and one on the second, so that's about 6 or 8 inches and 10 inches off the ground. And these guys were not trained to electric, and they would just run through it, jump under it, or jump over it, run under it, and they would just take the shock every single time, and just nothing could contain them. And I realized I got them young. I got them younger than I should have. They were about 6 weeks when I got them there, maybe 25 pounds. Feels like half the size of what they are now, but yeah, they were just too small. So we're letting them grow out in here, and then we've got plans to move them in other areas of the garden and the pasture. But for now, we're just going to get them fat here and move them off this area. Okay, so my pig feed has been pretty limited in the places around me. And we have really this, I guess it'd be called grower feed, that is the best and the only stuff that I could find. But the problem is that, let's see if you can see the label, it's 16% protein right there. And it even says for young growing swine, 60 to 150 pounds. These guys are not quite 60 pounds yet. However, this is all that I had. And so just like the woman who sold them to me told me they would, my pig scoured, which is livestock term for they had diarrhea when I fed them this. So I tried cutting it with some other feed and that didn't quite work. And what has worked for me is I take this poultry feed, which is just scratch grains, and you'll notice that that is 8% protein. So if you cut it half and half, that gets it to about 12%. And then when you ferment it, I have to imagine that helps with the digestibility. So after doing that, I haven't had any instances of scouring pigs, which is great. Something I realized I don't think I showed or mentioned when I was talking before about the fermentation process is I also add a bit of apple cider vinegar every day with their food. And of course, they get all-you-can-eat kitchen scraps, which honestly, like, they prefer the kitchen scraps to the, quote-unquote pig food. Okay, so all in all, the pigs have been pretty darn easy to work with. It's all gone pretty expected, except for this dang electric fence. The electric fence has been the biggest issue that I've been dealing with here, and I really like who I get electric supplies from, but this has been so frustrating. So this is an insulator, okay? And please, if I'm doing something wrong, somebody call me out on this, but this is an insulator. So the goal of it is to basically allow it to keep the thread, or in my case, the wire. Is this interesting to you, chicken? To keep the wire hot without discharging the electricity, but maybe you can hear it. It clicks. And if it were darker, like in a couple hours, you can see that it's actually discharging electricity on the screw that goes into the post, somehow through the insulator onto the post. And so that's been absolutely frustrating. You can see I've started to replace some of these. Some of them do it, some of them don't. Again, like, help me out. Like, if I'm doing something wrong, please let me know. But I can't figure out what could possibly be wrong with this because the wire is not even at all touching. Anyway, it's frustrating. Now, as far as, how hardy these little pigs have been, really just this house that my wife entirely built this thing. And aside from one of these roofing material pieces, we had everything just lying around. So what one of those roofing material pieces cost, aside from that, this whole thing was free. And it's been working really well for them. And they've done a great job at getting rid of all the hay that we put out for them in there. They would prefer to just sleep on the naked ground. So I've been talking mostly about pigs right now, and that's because they're new. But let's talk about really comparing that with sheep. So first off, I have it pretty darn easy right now when it comes to sheep. I just have 2 rams right now. All I do is supplement their food every couple of days, and they're pretty much fine. These guys, it's at least 10 minutes, 15 minutes twice a day, morning and night basically. So compare that to the sheep that is maybe 5 minutes every other day, which these guys being about 20 or 30 minutes every day. Again, that's still not much time, but just raw time comparisons right now. The pigs definitely are more daily time spent with them. But compare that to like when I had a lot of sheep and we were actually like breeding sheep. We had a whole, a small operation going on here. What made that very difficult compared to these guys is you got to keep sheep healthy the entire year. There's just a lot more things to worry about when you're breeding animals than just finishing animals. And I think that reason alone makes this operation actually easier than the sheep for the time being. So if you're just finishing the animals, like if you're just finishing out sheep versus pigs, those rams are going to be easier for you than the pigs will be, just because of time. And then also, if you are in a breeding scenario, I think sheep would probably be easier than pigs to breed also. Now, there's a lot of considerations. Really, space is the biggest consideration. But I want to get into that because moving sheep and keeping them healthy, to me, is probably a bigger consideration than it is with pigs, at least from what I've seen in research so far. But again, just the fact that I'm not breeding these pigs, that they're basically just here for 6 months on my homestead, that all by itself makes it easier than sheep. Now, which one's more rewarding? Time will tell. I still really like sheep, and I love ruminants. I love everything that ruminants are about, but it's also fun to have pigs too. So at the end of the day, for me at least, I feel like the pigs are really fun, just because the grass is always greener on the other side, right? It's like I haven't done pigs before, they're new on the homestead, and I'm having a lot of fun with that. They take work every day, whereas sheep kind of take work in spurts, like deworming them, moving them, lambing, all of that stuff takes a lot of time in the moment, but day-to-day stuff, pigs for sure take more time than sheep. Dude, I swear, we are like getting close to jailbreak status over here with this hen scratching down this. We're just asking for a pig to get into the chicken run. So should probably put a log there or something. This is like Shawshank Redemption over here.